Is Spider-Man Brand New Day the best live-action Spider-Man movie? After watching this movie, I don't think the answer is that simple, because while this is easily the best version of Tom Holland's Spider-Man we have ever seen, the movie itself has some major things holding it back. So let's talk about what worked, what didn't, and why I believe Spider-Man Brand New Day gets extremely close to greatness. Just a quick little recap, Spider-Man Brand New Day takes place 4 years after the events of Spider-Man No Way Home. Peter Parker is completely alone with everyone he cares about, forgetting who he is. During that time, Peter continues protecting New York as Spider-Man, becoming a hero that the entire city respects while nobody knows the person behind the mask. Eventually, Peter faces Jean Grey, a powerful telepath searching for something called VMAX while trying to get revenge against damage control. At the same time, Peter struggles with losing MJ and adjusting to his new abilities, including heightened senses and organic webbing. After Jean discovers Peter's identity, she begins manipulating the people around him, forcing Peter to confront not only her threat, but also his own pain and loss. Peter uncovers the truth behind Jean and damage control, but instead of defending Jean, he chooses to understand and save her. By the end of the movie, Peter realizes he cannot just be Spider-Man, he also has to accept being Peter Parker. The way I summarize this movie made the plot seem a lot less messy, but there are some holes that I need to address. However, they can easily be overlooked, as you could argue the main goal for this movie was to focus on each character's development. The character development is easily the strongest part of this movie, and it is what makes this movie worth watching. Talking about character development, let's talk about the biggest strength of this movie, Peter Parker himself. In my opinion, this is easily the best version of Tom Holland's Spider-Man we have ever seen. And the biggest reason for that is this movie finally understands something extremely important about this character. Spider-Man and Peter Parker are not two separate people. They are supposed to exist together. After the events of No Way Home, Peter has truly lost everything. He lost Aunt May, he lost MJ, he lost Ned. Everyone he cares about forgot who he was. And instead of moving forward, Peter completely isolates himself. He convinces himself that being Spider-Man means giving up being Peter Parker. And that is where this movie gets really interesting. For the first time, Tom Holland's Spider-Man feels like someone who has truly lost everything. He is alone. He is hurting, and he has nobody to return to. But despite all of that, he still wakes up every day and chooses to protect New York. And that is what makes this version of Peter feel so much closer to the comic book character. Because Spider-Man was never just about the powers, the jokes, or the action. The reason people connect with Spider-Man is because underneath the mask is Peter Parker. Someone who struggles, someone who sacrifices, and someone who keeps going, even when life is falling apart. And Brand New Day really understands that. One of my favorite parts of this movie was seeing Peter as the lonely Spider-Man. While the entire city loves and respects Spider-Man, nobody knows the person behind the mask. New York sees him as a hero, but Peter Parker himself is completely isolated. And honestly, this was something I felt was missing from Tom Holland's previous movies. We got a great Spider-Man, but we didn't always get that feeling that he was truly New York Spider-Man, and this movie finally captures that. The way the city supports him, the way people cheer for him, and even the way Peter talks and carries himself feels so much closer to the classic version of the character. It reminded me a lot of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man trilogy, where Spider-Man wasn't just a hero, he was a symbol for the people of New York. But the biggest part of Peter's journey is realizing that he cannot just be Spider-Man. He has to be Peter Parker too. We see this throughout the movie with his powers. When Peter is completely consumed by being Spider-Man and pushes away his identity as Peter Parker, he starts losing control. His heightened senses, his emotional state, and his organic webbing all become connected to his mental state. He's not just physically struggling, he's emotionally broken. This movie is showing us that Peter's biggest problem is not his powers. It is that he is refusing to live as himself. He is trying to become only Spider-Man, but that is impossible. Peter Parker is the reason Spider-Man exists in the first place. And that is why the moments where he reconnects with MJ, talks with Ned, and allows himself to have a normal life again are so important, especially the ending with Ned. At first, it may seem like the scene is just about Ned remembering Peter's name, but I think it means so much more than that. Peter isn't reconnecting with Ned just because he misses his old life. He's reconnecting with Ned because he's finally accepting that Peter Parker is still part of him. He doesn't have to choose between being Peter Parker and being Spider-Man. He needs both. And honestly, that reminded me a lot of Spider-Man 2. That movie is considered one of the best Spider-Man stories because it focuses on Peter struggling with the responsibilities of being Spider-Man. He is exhausted, he's losing parts of his personal life, but he continues because people need him, and Brand New Day captures that exact same feeling. Peter is not struggling because he cannot defeat villains. He is struggling because being Spider-Man comes with a cost. And by the end of the movie, Peter finally understands the lesson Spider-Man has always represented. You don't become Spider-Man by losing yourself. You become Spider-Man by accepting who you are. This was a 10 out of 10 character development for Spider-Man. Now moving on to the Punisher, I honestly think this character worked much better than I expected. At first, Spider-Man and the Punisher are complete opposite. Peter believes people can be saved, while the Punisher believes some people need to be stopped permanently. Throughout the movie, we see both characters are dealing with pain and loss, but they handle it in completely different ways. Peter lost everything after No Way Home, but he still chooses compassion. The Punisher allows his pain to control him. This is why their relationship works so well. Peter slowly shows him that not everyone who's hurting is beyond saving. This is especially important with Jean Grey. When the Punisher tries to take the shot, Peter jumps in front of the bullet to save her. That moment changed him. He realized Peter was right, and despite everything he has been through, he is still capable of caring for someone. Jean Grey is probably the most complicated character in the movie. While I think the overall villain plot had problems, her character itself had a lot of potential. Her motivation comes from losing Sarah, and that grief completely consumes her. The reason Peter connects with her is because he understands that pain. Peter lost Aunt May. Jean lost Sarah. Both characters are dealing with unimaginable loss. But the difference is that Peter chooses to keep helping people, while Jean lets her pain control her. That is why Peter doesn't want to defeat Jean in the final battle. He sees someone who is suffering, not just a villain, and that is one of the most Spider-Man moments in the movie. Finally, we have MJ. I think her role in this movie is much deeper than just being Peter's love interest. The biggest thing Peter has to accept is that MJ he remembers is gone. After No Way Home, Peter is holding on to the past and hoping he can get his life back. But when MJ tells him, "I don't love you, I'm sorry, but I don't even know you," it forces Peter to accept reality. He cannot force someone to remember him. He has to let go. And I think that is what makes the ending with MJ and Ned so important. Peter doesn't get his old life back, but he starts building a new one. The movie shows that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting who you were. It means accepting who you are now. I'll say it again, the character development and moral messages of the story were a 10 out of 10. I can fully see someone walking out of this theater and thinking this was a masterpiece movie. Now let's talk about what I think the movie's biggest weakness was: the story. I actually think the premise is really interesting. Jean Grey is a unique villain for Spider-Man, and her telepathic abilities create situations we've never really seen in a live-action Spider-Man movie before. The problem isn't the idea. The problem is the execution. The pacing wasn't terrible, but I never felt completely invested in the main conflict. The mystery surrounding VMAX and damage control takes a little too long to develop, and by the time the movie starts revealing its secrets, I'd already figured out what was going on. Bill Metzger, owner of Damage Control, felt suspicious from the beginning. Damage Control was obviously hiding something, and Jean Grey's reveal didn't have as much impact as I think the movie was aiming for. Maybe that's just me, but I found a lot of the story to be pretty predictable, which made some of the twists feel less satisfying. Even the lie Bill tells Spider-Man about Sarah wasn't convincing at all. They could have at least shown him pretending to be possessed by Jean Grey or done something to throw the audience off. Instead, it was so obvious he was lying that I was just waiting for Spider-Man to figure it out. But I will give the movie credit where it deserves it. When Jean Grey discovers that VMAX was never some secret project, but simply the label on the fan above the room where Damage Control left Sarah to die, that honestly caught me off guard. I did not think that twist was underwhelming at all. I actually thought it was one of the darkest moments in the movie, and it completely changed the way I looked at Jean Grey's motivation. So while I still think the story is the weakest part of the movie, it definitely has moments where it surprises you. I just wish there were more of them. Now we have to talk about the Hulk. When Jean Grey loses control of Bruce Banner and the Hulk is finally unleashed, it gives us the kind of Hulk scene Marvel fans have been waiting years to see. He felt powerful, he felt destructive, and for the first time in a long time, he actually felt like the Hulk. The action was incredible, the destruction was massive, and every time he was on screen, it felt like there were real stakes. It wasn't just a fan service either. It reminded everyone why Hulk is one of Marvel's most terrifying characters when he's unleashed. Hopefully this is a sign of what's to come, because if Marvel continues using Hulk like this, I'm ready for another Hulk movie. Finally, talking about the ending, I actually think the movie stuck the landing. What I really liked is that the ending wasn't about Spider-Man defeating the villain. It was about Peter Parker healing. Throughout the entire movie, Peter is trying to live as only Spider-Man, shutting everyone out and bearing who he really is. But by the end, he realizes that he cannot keep living that way. The final scene with Ned is a perfect example of that. Sure, it's emotional because Ned finally remembers Peter's name, but to me, it symbolizes something much bigger. It symbolizes Peter finally getting pieces of his life back. Not because everything magically returns to normal, but because he's finally allowing himself to be Peter Parker again instead of only Spider-Man. As for the post-credit scene, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I think whatever happens in Beyond the Spider-Verse is directly tied into this movie. Do I have proof? Absolutely not. Am I a dumbass? Absolutely. But that is my prediction, and if it somehow happens, I'm coming back to this review. So where does Spider-Man Brand New Day rank among the live-action Spider-Man movies? For me, it lands at number 2. I still think Spider-Man 2 is the greatest live-action Spider-Man movie ever made, but I would put Spider-Man Brand New Day just above Spider-Man No Way Home. I think Spider-Man No Way Home delivered bigger moments, more fan service, and one of the greatest theater experiences I've ever had. But Brand New Day just gave us a better Peter Parker. It finally understood what makes Spider-Man such an incredible character, and it brought back that classic friendly neighborhood Spider-Man feeling that I felt we were missing from Tom Holland's previous films. The story definitely has its flaws. Some of the twists are predictable, the main mystery doesn't always land, and that's ultimately why I can't put it above Spider-Man 2. But despite those issues, the character work is phenomenal. This is the best version of Tom Holland's Spider-Man we've ever seen, and for that reason, I'm going to give Spider-Man Brand New Day a solid 8.6 out of 10. If you're a Spider-Man fan, I absolutely think this movie is worth watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and subscribe for more movie reviews.